league. Let's go!
Welcome back to the Tuesday Trash. I am your host, as always, Ben Clark, here to deliver your weekly dose of fantasy football thrashing. I only do two things at the moment, homework and trash talk, and I am fresh out of homework. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. First up on tonight's slate, we have the Skippy Team of the Week award. Now, there are several teams that I could give this award to. I could give it to my dad after his 30-point beatdown of Scott. But I won't. I could give it to Caleb for his 40-point win over Eric. But honestly, that feels like rewarding someone for beating up a cripple, so I won't. I could even give it to Papa John for knocking off the last undefeated team in the league. Nah. And that is because, without a doubt, this week's Skippy Team of the Week award goes to the New York Football Giants. Oh, Billy, you thought I was going to give it to you? Over my dead body. This is my show. This is my award. And I don't feel like letting you have it. You can gloat about your 50-point victory all you want, but you're not getting this. Better luck next week, chump. Moving now to the losers recap, we will start off with Scott. Scott, I really feel for you this week. Starting Mark Andrews after last week's miracle performance was completely justified, but it didn't end up working for you this week. You left a lot of points on your bench with 82.5, meaning that your bench scored more than Eric's whole team did. Oof. This was a winnable one, and that's a real shame, but you fall to 2-2 all the same. Next up, we have the man, the myth, the toilet bowl favorite himself, Eric. Eric, buddy, you're still winless, limping to 70 points this week. Your receivers combined for 69 yards, nice, which is less fantasy football and more junior varsity box score. I gave Jeremy grief for drafting 6 Colts to his roster, but you've stacked up 5 active Titans, plus A.J. Brown, the Titan that got away. For those of you that don't actually watch the games and just pick players based on their names, Adam, the Titans suck. They scored 0 points last week. There's an interview with their quarterback, Cam Ward, where he says some words that I'm not allowed to say, but it pretty much summarizes how the Tennessee Titans are going. So, Eric, if you're going to lock in on one franchise, at least pick players from one that isn't the poverty-ridden Tennessee Titans. Next on our agenda, we have the other member of the 0-4 club, Adam. Adam, dude, you came so close to winning this week. See what miracles can almost happen when you actually remember to set your lineup? This was a tough loss to the inventor of the Linneman efficiency theorem, but you're going to get one of these days. I believe in you. Do clear out your bench from all the injured reserve players that you have there. I know you like collecting fun names, but they're not actually going to contribute anything to your team. Now on to Andy. Andy, turns out your team actually does need your defense to score 30 points a game, because without it, the rest of your roster scraped together just 71 points. For those of you keeping score, that's one more than Eric did, and we've already established that Eric's team sucks. Sorry, Eric, that's the last stray for the moment, probably. Lamar is going to be missing some time for you, which is going to be super rough, and free agency is really thin. But hey, I hear veteran quarterback Joe Flacco is available. He's only 40, so there's plenty of tread left on those tires. And last but not least, for this week's loser recap, we have me. I caught the L this week. It's a little hard to win when your star receiver tears his ACL in the second quarter, but it's not that would have really mattered. Billy's team went full nuclear this week. Finally, his roster decided to back up the trash talk that he's been putting in the group chat. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap and move on to next week. After all, there is plenty of season to be had left, and I still don't have a losing record, and I haven't had one all season. 2-2 is a fine record to be at with 4 weeks into the year. After all, the Kansas City Chiefs right now are 2-2 as well, and we all know how that's going to end. And now this brings us to this week's Chump of the Week, and who else could it be but Josiah? Josiah, you were the last undefeated team standing, the lone survivor, the one the rest of us were circling, waiting for you to finally trip, and trip you did. Face first into the mud with the whole league watching. You weren't just the final domino to fall. You were that giant domino at the end of the chain that's supposed to topple with grace, but instead wobbles awkwardly, tips the wrong way, and crushes the guy who set it up. That's you. You strutted into this week with your shiny little perfect record, chest puffed out, acting like you were built different. But let's be honest, you were living on borrowed time, man. The fantasy gods have been eyeing you suspiciously for weeks, and they decided to finally smite you. And man, smite you they did. What makes it worse is that wasn't just any loss. No. This was the humbling loss. The kind where the group chat screenshots it, frames it, and keeps it on their wall for future reference. You didn't just lose a game, you lost your aura. That undefeated mystique, gone. You are just another 3-1 peasant like the rest. And don't get me wrong, 3-1 is still good. It's a better record than I have. It's respectable. But you're no longer special. Josiah, you're no longer the guy to beat. You're just another target in the firing range. You were the hunter, and now you're the hunted. And judging by this performance, the hunted might not last all that long. So congratulations, Josiah. You have joined the mortal realm. And for your dramatic tumble off of Mount Undefeated, for the arrogance that came before it, and for the tears you'll surely shed after it, you are officially this week's Chump of the Week. Take a round of applause, my friend. Moving on to our Pick'em segment for next week, there has been a lot of talk about AI this year, mostly in regards to Caleb and his robot overlords, but honestly, I don't feel like doing the work for this week's Pick'em, so I'm outsourcing it. Again, shocker. That's right, ChatGPT is making my picks this week. First up, we have matchup number 1, Scott versus myself. AI says Scott left 82.5 points on his bench this week. That's more points than Eric's entire team. Probability of repeating such failure, high. Prediction, Ben wins. Translation, yeah, I'm not letting Scott take this one. Computers agree, it's my week. I definitely didn't cook the numbers at all. This is totally legit. Matchup number 2, Caleb versus Dave. AI says Caleb wins by 40 last week, but that was versus Eric. Beating Eric is not predictive of skill. Dave projects higher, therefore Dave wins. Very astute from the AI. Translation, Caleb, the robots see through your smoke and mirrors. AI built you up. AI will tear you down. Dave by 50. Matchup number 3, Eric versus Billy. AI says Eric has drafted 5 Titans players. This is a losing strategy in both fantasy football and life. Prediction, Billy wins. Translation, Billy's team is hot. Eric's team is not. Need I say more? Matchup number 4, Josh versus Andy. AI says both teams scored like poverty franchises last week, but Lamar Jackson is injured and Joe Flacco is not the solution. Prediction, Josh wins. Translation, Andy, the algorithm says you're cooked. Defense can't bail you out forever, and neither will the rest of your team. Matchup number 5, John versus Adam. AI says Adam set his lineup last week and almost won. Almost. This is progress, but not victory. John projects nearly 100 points. Prediction, John wins. Translation, Adam, AI says it's still toilet bowl season. Sorry, buddy. And matchup number 6, Josiah versus Jeremy. AI says Josiah lost undefeated status. Regression has begun. Jeremy is steady, and steady beats broken ego. Prediction, Jeremy wins. Translation, Josiah, you're no longer special. AI says Jeremy's about to pile on. So thanks to ChatGPT for making my life just a little bit easier. We'll come back next week to see how right it was. But that's it for this week's Pick'em segment. And that'll do it for this week's edition of the Tuesday Trash. Remember, if you didn't catch a stray tonight, don't worry, your turn is coming. Nobody's safe, not even me. That's the beauty of this show. One week you are laughing, and the next week you are the punchline. So set your lineups, pray to the fantasy gods, and maybe, just maybe, you'll end up avoiding being in here next week, but let's be real, probably not. Looking at you, Eric. One last shot, I had to fit it in. I've been your host, Ben Clark, bringing you homework, trash talk, and absolutely no mercy. See you here next Tuesday, but until then, stay humble and stay trashy.
The Clarkman Fantasy Football League, let's go! It's the Clarkman Fantasy Football League, let's go! Hey, my cousin Billy, he's a chump. My cousin Andy is another chump. My cousin Scott is a big old chump. But